right, we are live. Everett is in the chat. He posted a message. Welcome to Zimbabwe. I like that. And we got videos to support that very concept tonight. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for showing up. By the way, this is a African themed t-shirt. Fry Mumia. Right, let's do it this way. Fry Mumia. There's a guy named Mumia Abu Jamal, who's, I can't remember his real name. It was like George Green, who shot a police officer in Philly back in the day. And there was this free movie. He's been in prison, of course. There's no question he shot the cop. They caught him. They had the gun. They've been trying to make him into a celebrity in prison. And there was the free Mumia movement. And this was a counter t-shirt, the Fry Mumia movement, which I had from years ago. And I just threw on tonight. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to everyone who's watching now and who's going to watch in the future. I am starting super late because I worked today on my day off, and because things were kind of slow last week and the week before, and they called me up. They said, "You want to go to Virginia?" I said, "Yeah, no worries." This was like noon, and I thought I would get back real quick, but it turns out on the way back there was traffic at the Baltimore Tunnel because they're doing construction there, and that cost me like an hour plus. Then there was traffic again in Philly, again, road construction. So I thought I would get here close to like the normal time, but it didn't exactly, it didn't pan out that way. Then I had to get some food. Then I had to scribble some notes. And now here we are. So we are here. Quick note on last week's stream. It's been taken down. The stream called Mexican Devil Rap. It got about 23 views in just a couple of hours. Very provocative title, and I think a lot of people wanted to see it. But I didn't get a channel strike because I really can't channel strike. When I played that song by Cartel de Santa, they claimed that it was copyright infringement from outside this country. But there's like 9 channels outside of the official Cartel de Santa channel that have that video up in its entirety. You know what I mean? On YouTube, of course. You know they're untouched, and they took that one. I also, of course, called out the feds for being feds, and they don't like that. So because they're basically fucking spoiled children. You know what I mean? Who have law enforcement powers that they whoever has the switch to reach it to Google to make the fucking stream get locked out or lockdown, whatever they do to it, make it private from their end. So we can't see that again. I still have the videos and stuff, but I'm not gonna, not gonna do the same thing twice. I think I got my point across. So that was last week, and that's why this week I'm talking about lions and tigers and bears. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. So a lion is a type of skin gobbler, and a tiger is a type of skin gobbler. You know what I mean? They'll just gobble you right up. A tiger just eat you, everything, skin and everything. And bears are skin gobblers as well. So lions and tigers and bears are 3 types of skin gobbler. You know what I mean? And they're dangerous. I wouldn't go sticking my hand in the lion cage or anything like that. I wouldn't go like have a pet tiger like that crazy person had, with Tiger King guy. Like I wouldn't do that. Those are bad ideas. Those are really there's some faulty logic there. And these crazy guys from Dagestan that are in the UFC that wrestle bears, again, not the smartest move. Like it's not, I wouldn't just do that. But those 3 types of skin gobblers are, I think, less dangerous than the 4th type of skin gobbler, who basically is a 2-legged creature, not a 4-legged creature, kind of walks amongst us, and oftentimes people can't see how dangerous they really are, because what they do is far more detrimental to far more people than the occasional lion chomping down on somebody on the Serengeti plain, or somebody forgetting to bring his bear spray when he goes up to Alaska. Like that's you know, there's some incidents, but it's the fourth, not those, the first three skin gobblers, dangerous. The fourth skin gobblers, they're really dangerous. And that's what we dedicate this show to talking about. I got a bunch of good video that I got to remember which ones I didn't do. Problem is, StreamYard lets me like list all the videos I've ever shown. So, and I'm like, I got to scroll to, I got to actually scroll to a lot of stuff to figure out where the fuck I'm supposed to be. But what are we doing? Things are about to get even more interesting financial wise. So let's start with the official position of the U.S. Federal Reserve and how the Federal Reserve views global threats to the U.S.
Are you concerned about these actions by Russia and China to establish different reserves and conduct transactions in non-U.S. dollars?
So the U.S. dollar is the widely accepted and really the only serious candidate for the world's principal reserve currency, and that's because of our democratic institutions, our liquid markets, the rule of law, and all those kinds of things, and also the fact that the dollar has held its value over time. So other countries who are competing on other playing fields may want to establish different currencies, but really the dollar is the one that's going to be used more broadly in international commerce because we have those aspects and other countries don't.
Okay. So there's Jerome Powell, current chairman of the Fed, saying America is all about the rule of law and stability and value over time. The dollar has held its value over time. Really? Because like in 1923, you could buy a dozen eggs for 10 cents. A dozen eggs now cost $6. So I don't know about the value, the U.S. Currency holding its value over time. There might be some mathematical dispute to that. There might be some real mathematical dispute. So what are we gonna do? Where's the one? I think this is. Where was the? Come on. I don't want to pick the wrong. I don't want to set up the clip the wrong way. But all right, let's go with the banking system is broke. This is about a minute. This is slapped together. It's a mashup or whatever edit from some a speech done actually in the European Union Parliament by, I think it was a Scotsman or an Englishman, and he raised a really interesting historical point that I kind of touched on a couple weeks ago. But let's hear what this guy has to say.
This one is the worst of all of them because all you've done is kick the can down the road, or think of it as kicking it to the highest level, the government debt level. There's nowhere else to kick it, people. There's no higher level of leverage than the governments and the sovereigns. So Contagion was in 2008, 2009, Bear Stearns and Lehman. Replace that with country XYZ today. It's exactly the same problem.
The problem that we have is a flawed banking system, a fractional reserve banking system, where bankers can lend money that they don't have. And if you go back in time to the United States in the 1850s, that was a capital offense. You could hang for that.
Are we watching a systemic collapse of the central banking system here in the United States?
I think we're seeing the onset of the next financial crisis, and there will always be a next financial crisis until the system collapses entirely. Is this the last cycle?
So I didn't know that in the 1850s, if you made a bank loan with money that you didn't have, they could hang you for that. That was a capital offense. Think of how serious the early patriots were. When I talked about Aaron Burr being the last American gunfighter, you know what I mean? The last American office holder, politician, willing to fire shots in anger to protect his nation. And he really is the last American gunfighter. Everyone else since then has been various, whatever, mercenary types. But in terms of an elected official, right, and doing whatever it took to defend his nation, Aaron Burr was the last of them. You know what I mean? And so he was a great one. By the way, as I drove through Princeton, I did once again as I passed Washington Avenue. I said, even Mr. Vice President, thank you for your service. And I drove through the green light and went on my way. So understanding that that people have known for a long time that this isn't really working is kind of key to understanding what's going to happen over probably the next 18 months or so. There's one other one with that guy. Well, let's go to Jack Mallers. This is a longer clip of a guy named Jack Mallers. Okay, and he has an app called Strike, and he's a big Bitcoin guy, Chicago finance guy, a young kid who talks a little too fast and a little too flippantly, but he gets the basic idea across. And he's being interviewed on CNBC, and they have the set. The set is all gorgeous and beautiful, and they have the Bitcoin logo, and it looks slick from the outside as you possibly can, but the people talking to Jack don't seem to understand, particularly this boomer finance guy. But so let's talk about what the Fed's done in the last week or so.
Hour, but Bitcoin has been rallying pretty hard lately. It's up more than 70% just this year. And our next guest says this is Bitcoin's moment. This is why the asset exists. Let's bring in Jack Mallers, the founder and CEO of Strike. I was going to say, have we seen your hair before, Jack, or has the hoodie typically been up? I'm waiting, for the business suit for me to know that the crisis is over so I can see we're not there yet.
Kelly, I got luscious locks, but I'll toss the hood on for you. How are we? The Fed has blown up our financial system. A hell of a Monday, huh?
So do you think, okay, let me ask it to you this way, or put it to you this way. A banking crisis is deflationary. And so when I see Balaji and others saying Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million, it may go up, but that may be because of the Fed's response here. The 2010s were not hyperinflationary. There's no obvious reason why now would be hyperinflationary either.
Yeah, so Kelly, it's actually not that complicated, and I'm excited to try and convey that to America. There's a market term that's used here in Chicago a lot, is demand finds supply. What do I mean by that? If Ken Griffin is going to want to buy the most expensive condo in America, someone will build it for him. Someone will put a 201st floor in Miami's tallest building. If silver's going to 1000x, I will walk into my kitchen right now. I will melt all my silverware and I will sell it at market. If gold is going to rally, Elon Musk will find more on Mars. Bitcoin this is a super important point. Bitcoin is the only monetary instrument in the history of our species that is fixed. It does not matter how much more demand comes into the asset class, Kelly. No one will ever be able to make more of it. There are two things I can guarantee you in my life. One, that I'll die, and the other, that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. And those are what's the two things that I can only value as my life and my Bitcoin. So it is the only fixed supply asset, Kelly. It's not that complicated. It's going to go up because everything else can be issued more. Does that make sense?
Why you've got to explain to me one thing. Why is the supply fixed? And is that because someone says it's fixed who could change their mind?
No, it's a great point and question, Tyler. It's because it's written in the software and the software is distributed. There is no one person to ask. There is no one person to trust. The whole decentralization, is it decentralized so that you could put pictures and NFTs on the blockchain? Is it decentralized so that you could fix gaming? No, it's decentralized so that the defendants of the monetary policy are distributed, is so that it's a network of computers that actually defend the policy and the instrumentation of the monetary asset. That is not the case for Ethereum. That is not the case for any other altcoin. That is not the case for the US dollar. That is not the case for Miami real estate. That is not the case for precious metals. It is the only monetary instrument that has its monetary policy distributed and defended in a sound way.
Forgive me for being dense,
so
but if you say that, that it's because this is the way the software is written and it is immutable, it is unchangeable. Why couldn't the software be rewritten, or why couldn't the authors of the software or the guardians of the software write a new software that creates Bitcoin 2.0 with another fixed supply of Bitcoin?
Yeah. So Tyler, I run Bitcoin software. and someone tried to do this. I want you to Google Bitcoin Cash after this interview is over. Someone said, I want to change the rules of Bitcoin. I may want to create more of a supply. I may want to make it faster. I may want to make it do a backflip. I may make it want to store pictures of monkeys drilling on themselves on the blockchain. And they created it, and they created new rules, and they called it Bitcoin Cash. It's a different asset. It's a different instrument. And when someone tries to pay me in it, my software rules that I run in my home in a room over there says, nope, that's invalid. That thing is a piece of poop, and I don't accept it because it is invalidating the rules of the system that were set out by Satoshi Nakamoto over a decade ago. So you can create whatever you want. You want to create FedNow coin, flip a Dookie coin. I don't care. There's 21 million of the things that I run and that I protect and that I save in. And those rules were started a long time ago. And that's what the network runs. So if you change the rules, you're creating a different monetary asset and a different instrument. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so that boomer was helpful with this question being as wrong as it is. Like, why can't you just make another one? Well, every 20, all the entire 22,000 altcoins are variations on Bitcoin, and they have no value because they're fundamentally broken. They're all in one guy's room. They're not like Bitcoin spread out all over the whole globe. So people still don't get it. I made this point last week that, billionaires don't get it. The pundits who talk about this, they don't get it. Like, and I don't particularly care to explain it, and I don't care if you get it or you don't get it, because you'll end up following, you'll end up using it. You know what I mean? They're going to print ever more money. They're not going to stop printing money, and that money's going to get weaker and weaker and weaker until things blow up. And there was a video, man, I got to see which one it is. I don't know if it's, I hope. No, that is the Zimbabwe one. Not Zimbabwe. South Africa. Let me see if I'm not sure. I told you I had too many videos. Let me see if this one is the right one that talks about the U.S. debt bomb.
Look, Satoshi had just a beautiful vision, a beautiful dream, and that was, what if we didn't have to trust the banks? And what if we didn't have to save our life savings in a fiat currency that's collapsing in value?
Satoshi Nakamoto inscribed the following headline on the Bitcoin Genesis block in 2009. Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks, which provides a clue to the problem he was trying to solve, having to rely on a trusted third party. And so he created a form of money that requires no trust, no need to worry about a third party's epic lapses in judgment, succumbing to corruption, or perpetuating a rigged system for personal gain at the expense of others' hard work, time, and energy. Bitcoin won't lend out, freeze, or censor your savings. It doesn't need a bailout. And it finally provides a fair and open financial system for securing property rights where anyone can opt in. It's very simple. Don't trust, verify. And short the banks, long Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm looking for a clip that I accidentally deleted right before the show to maintain my level of professionalism, where someone lays out the case that the U.S. takes in like $4.8 trillion in taxes, and of the $4.8 trillion that it takes in, 3.6 trillion go out to like Social Security, Medicare, and then 800 billion go to the Pentagon, and then that leaves like $400 million left over to service the debt, to pay off the interest on America's $30 trillion in debt. Well, America has to keep issuing new debt all the time, and to pay off its old debt, to try and stay ahead of this reality that they cannot. They don't have enough money left over after Social Security and Medicaid to pay off to pay the interest on the debt, not pay off the debt, to pay the interest on the debt. And the guy says, is if you kept opening a new credit card account to pay for your last credit card, how long would you be able to do that as an individual? Not that long, right? But that's what America's doing right now. We don't have the tax revenues sufficient to pay off the interest on the debt. And if people decide that, and when I say people, I'm talking about entire countries, decide they don't want to hold American debt anymore and they just dump the debt, then it's all worthless paper. So, and when is that going to happen? It's almost certain to happen, because, you know, whatever Biden's budget is 2 trillion or 6.9 trillion, we take in 4.8 trillion. That means we're spending 2 trillion more than we're taking in this year and next year and the year after that. And like, how long until it breaks? I don't know, but it's most certainly going to break. At some point, the debt's going to be too high, and we won't have enough money left over to make the interest payment, and then things are really going to get super interesting in a very negative way. I try to tell people to be aware of that, but they're like, oh, it's finance, it's this, it's that, it's government, but it's going to impact your life in a very, very real way. When the government collapses or the government changes, things could get real bad real fast, and stay that way for a while, especially if you are if you're not in the right place. Let's go to it, because this is whatever. Zimbabwe. What was that remark in the comments? What did it say? Welcome to Zimbabwe. Yeah, welcome to Zimbabwe. Okay, we're going to go from Zimbabwe a little bit. Make a left over. Not far from there. Where are we at? Where is it? Come on. Show me. Here you
The
go.
hard money top 10 list for Bitcoin in 2023. Number 3, Africa goes full throttle on Bitcoin.
Bernard and Bitnob is the whole reason we're able to settle value in other currencies and in other continents, because they're on Lightning too.
If businesses in Africa can't send their monies out, then it's bad for us. But if they can come do business and they have the assurance that there's a payments rail that actually sends their money back, then it improves commerce and trade for us.
Machankura, a slang term for money in South Africa, now has new meaning, connecting the previously unbanked to the world economy. Machankura's breakthrough tech allows for users to make payments using older phones with text but not internet capabilities. This represents a massive swath of the population that will now be capable of transacting in Bitcoin without any need to upgrade their devices.
So when I said Bitcoin is engineered money and it's the apex predator of money on this planet, that's what I mean by that. The Bitcoin people have figured out how to make it work in South Africa. You see what that country looks like. Now, how much are they using it? I don't know. Somewhat, I guess. And I think they live on like $2 a day. So I don't know that they'd be sending a whole lot back and forth. But the infrastructure exists for them to build off that, to build an economy off that doesn't, that's again, not subject to the whims of some centralized authority who's going to print as much as they want or confiscate your gold or do whatever. This exists today, right? It's not a theory. It's not maybe someday so we might do it. It's already done. Okay. How much is it being used again? That's debatable. I have no idea. But you got to remember, and I'm going to show you, this is a quick video, but you got to remember that at the low end, South African people in what do they call those ghettos? I don't know. I can't. There's a name for those ghettos. I can't remember what they're called. Bitcoin is there, but Bitcoin is also here too. Real quick. So it's an older story from January to July 2021. ExxonMobil, the world's largest oil company, is mining Bitcoin in North Dakota and in other places around the world. Why? because the climate communists are saying you got to reduce the CO2 emissions by, I think they came up with a figure of like 30%. And they probably thought it was hilarious because they thought there's no way the industry could do that. But that's where Bitcoin stepped in, because when they take that flare gas and they use it to run generators to mine Bitcoin, their emissions are cut by 63%. So all of a sudden, the most evil oil company on the planet, and I'm not saying Exxon's a good company because it's owned by the Rockefellers, and the Rockefellers own part of the Federal Reserve, but they found a way to sidestep the climate communists and to go green and to beat all these government targets. And that's a solution that Bitcoin provided them on the high end. And ExxonMobil does not ever need to sell Bitcoin ever for anything. They're never going to sell their fucking Bitcoin. You understand that, right? So all that, whatever, however much they mined, and I don't know how much they mined, I don't know how much computing power they're throwing at this, who knows? They can do that, A, forever, because they have all that waste gas, and B, they're never going to fucking sell that. So this is long-term, an asset that has that industrial use for the oil and gas industry. And Bitcoin solves problems at the high end and at the low end. We got a comment. Who's back to commenting? Judas Fly Chai, the base Persian Michelin. Dear James, a few years ago, I had a wonderful Orthodox Jewish friend who spent time with frequently, and I even spent an entire Sabbath at his home. He moved to New York City, got married, and now he never answers my calls. What should I make of this? His wife is running his social life. Wow, paying for stuff with a flip phone. Yes. The ultra-Orthodox do use those phones. I see them, because they're paranoid that they're being surveilled. They use them all the time. I see them outside outside Terminal C in Newark Airport. We have those phones from the 1990s. A lot of them have those because they're mentally ill loons who think that everybody's listening to their phone calls, probably because they're listening to everybody else's phone calls. But yeah, the reason why your buddy doesn't call you anymore is the wife says so. You know what I mean? The waifu runs the social life, and so that's the reality pretty much everywhere. You know what I mean? They decorate the house. They decide which holidays to go, to go big on, which ones they ignore, and it's going to depend on a bunch of different things. But it's always the wife that determines the social status, social agenda. And Judas Light Chai, the indica smoking Persian Michelin guy is not high on her priority list. I mean, if you were her friend, she'd, her husband would be calling you all the time to talk about, I don't know, what do you guys talk about? Basketball? I have no idea. Do you talk about running the world? Because you do, and I saw this video. This was a video I wasn't even going to show because it's 8 minutes and 43 seconds. I'm not going to go the whole 8 minutes and 43 seconds. I'm going to go like 3 minutes ish. But I don't know what your circumstance in life is, but this guy I'm about to show, and everyone's going to know who he is as soon as you see him, is someone who is likely a multimillionaire, at least a millionaire, and who could do pretty much whatever he wants, but he chooses to beg to be a fucking slave again. And I find that completely insane. I don't know. I have no idea why anybody would do this, but let's take about 3 minutes. Again, it's the whole clip is like 8 minutes and 43. I think I don't want to play the whole clip, but get about 3 minutes into it. And he talks about a couple of things, and I got some commentary on it.
Thank you. Thank you to Carnegie Hall Chairman Robert Smith and his entire team. Thank you for your hospitality this evening. Why don't we all give them a big round of applause? Thank you. Congratulations to Rabbi Shmuley Botek. Rabbi, thank you for all your great work on behalf of the Jewish people and on behalf of a more inclusive, just society for all. We thank you, Rabbi, and we applaud you. And it's my pleasure to join all of you on this special evening, my friends in the Jewish community, and those of us here who support it. And it's my honor to mark the life of Eleanor Esther Elka Paul. A life well lived, because it's a life of values. The value for human life, human dignity, the value of tzedek, justice, and social justice. We honor her memory, and we are inspired by her example. And we take it to heart today, because those values are critical issues at this most pressing time. The world is in crisis. We're in the midst of a storm of antipathy, a storm of anxiety, a storm of antagonism. Russia, Ukraine, China, Iran, the Middle East, everywhere you look. Yes, even in the mirror, in this country, growing division, unrest, and fear. And fear can make people dangerous. As we've tragically seen time and time again throughout history, in the midst of the storm, anti-Semitism increases. And today, anti-Semitism isn't just increasing, it is exploding. We see it in the shadows, we see it in the subtlety, and we also see it in vicious and violent displays. Well, they say now, there are reasons why anti-Semitism is increasing. It's not just because people don't like Jewish people. There are reasons why anti-Semitism is increasing. Yes, that's what they have always said throughout history. There was a reason. Hitler said he had a reason. Hitler said Jews were genetically inferior, and that's why. Jews had diseases, and that's why. They always said that they had a reason. For many anti-Semites today, that reason is Israel. They try to distinguish between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. But you must ignore history in order to make that differentiation. They ignore the fact that the world repeatedly.
After that, okay. So I actually went to the original video, and I timed when he dropped the H bomb. When did the former governor Andrew Cuomo drop the H bomb? 2 minutes and 32 seconds into that humiliation ritual that all American politicians have to go through. Now, you remember this guy got kicked out of, he was governor of New York, he got kicked out, and he did everything for that. And during COVID, he had all the seniors put into nursing homes, which were all owned by Jews. And then thousands of people died from COVID, and they put COVID on the death certificates. And those nursing homes made millions and probably tens of millions of dollars. You know what I mean? He basically sent Americans to a modern day version of a death camp, modern day version of a gulag. You know what I mean? It's a medical gulag, or it's a gulag anyway. And by putting COVID on the death certificate, you know, the hospital or care facility would make whatever, I don't know, $39,000 per fucking toe tag, you know? And so he put a lot of money in their pockets. He legalized marijuana throughout New York State. He did everything he could for them, and they still got rid of him. Why they got rid of him, I don't really know, and I don't care. But for him to be begging like that, because that's a recent video, I think it's only from a couple of months ago. It's a recent video, and for him to be begging for the opportunity, like he's trying to get back into the politics. He's got a podcast, he's got this, he's got that. He's trying to reboot his ambitions to become president of the United States. And so he's like, I don't know who wrote that fucking script, but that's like so fucking insane, you know, what he's talking about. Like you have to praise this fucking dead woman. Oh, a life well lived. Okay, that's that terminology, a life well lived, you know, is that the term for that, the Greek term for that is eudaimonia, a life worth living. You know, there's a Latin term for it, which is la dolce vita. They kind of sound similar. The Italian or Latin version has more to do with the life pursuing the sort of the obvious pleasures, whereas eudaimonia, the way the Greeks meant it, was more virtues rather than pursuing pleasures, but that you could live a life of excellence in your virtue because you had enough money and free time to do what you wanted to do, and you wanted to do what you wanted was excellence, not corruption. Whereas the Romans were like, no, you want to wine women's song and to sleep late every day and tell your boss to go after something. Shmuley Judas Fleischai in the chat. Shmuley Boutique is a pig. So yeah, I don't know. He's the guy. He was involved with Michael Jackson. He was like whatever. But I look at Andrew Cuomo and I think, if you were him, would you make that same choice? Would you want to crawl back? Like his entire life's focus is he wants to use the power of the state against the very people of this country on behalf of Jews. Like he's going to smash anti-Semitism and he's going to keep them safe from the Hitler 2.0 or 3.0 or 7.0 or whatever. Like, I think if the Jews, I don't know for certain. I mean, I am not around them enough, but I think if a Jew doesn't talk about Hitler every 5 minutes, I think something bad happens in their head. I think they're getting the fucking heebie-jeebies. How do you go, like 2 minutes into like some kind of eulogy, and then Hitler makes an appearance? That's how. And he didn't write that speech. Somebody wrote that for him. You could see if you go look at that. It's up on the Jewish Forward YouTube page. You can watch it and you can see his eyes up close and you can see his eyes reading, I don't know if it's a teleprompter or cue cards or whatever. Like you can see he's reading that. And I was like, why would you do that? I was like, just take your pension, take all your money, go travel the world, go to the old country, go to fucking Italy, go to like you could do whatever you wanted to do. You have, he's a millionaire, and no, he wants to go right back into that seat where the phone rings and he's like, yes, sir, absolutely, I'll do it right away. And, send out the state troopers, send out the revenue agents, send out whatever to, in service of these fucking monsters. That's the only life he can imagine. And this kind of ties in with the earlier clips I was showing about, the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, they said, well, are you afraid that China and Russia are going to do business not in U.S. dollars? By the way, who gives a crap? But Chairman Powell's like, no, don't worry. We're the only game in town. The Federal Reserve is focused on nation states as threats, and that's why Bitcoin's going to win, because they literally don't see it coming. They don't understand what it is. None of them do, and it's the punch that you don't see that knocks you out. Do you understand? You're looking this way. You're looking this way. You're looking this way. This is where you think the threat is when it's coming from an entirely different direction, and it takes you the fuck out. That's what's going to happen. Is it going to happen this year? I don't know, but it's going to happen because the math is against them. We are already insolvent. We cannot, we don't have enough money after paying off Medicare and Social Security to service the debt. That's why the new Republican dude is putting on his fucking evil black hat and saying we're going to cut Social Security or whatever, or Social Security is not going to be there in the future because they needed to service the debt. That's, the current $30 trillion in 5 years will be like $35 trillion. In 10 years, it'll be $50 trillion. It'll be a number so high and so insane that even if every American just emptied all their pockets and sold everything they fucking had, we still won't be able to pay that debt. So to pay the interest on the debt. So when does that day come? When does everybody wise up and go, all right, we're not playing this game, you know? I think it's after sometime after they come in and properly regulate everything. Because right now we got that Sam Bankman-Fried, that drama still going on. He's trying to work stuff. He's pulling every string and pushing every button he can to try and spin a narrative before he gets the trial in October. But here's the thing: two or three of his co-conspirators have already pled guilty and already started serving their sentences. I'm not aware of the federal government ever dropping a prosecution when they already had some people behind bars. You know what I mean? They don't have the kingpin yet, but they're going to get them. You know what I mean? The FBI didn't stop going after the mafia, you know, because John Gotti beat them in court twice. They just tried a third time, and they finally got him the third time. You know what I mean? They didn't say, well, you know, we got all these low-level guys. Let's just drop this. They kept going and going and going until they got him. So this Sam Bankman-Fried doesn't really know what he's up against. He doesn't understand what he's done, but he's going to be made to understand it. But in the meantime, he's got his friends out. This is a quick 27-second clip. 27 seconds. His buddy, this guy's on TV. I see him all the time. He's on that TV show, Shark Tank.
Why do you believe FTX failed? I have an opinion. I don't have the records. Here it is. These two behemoths that own the unregulated market together and grew these incredible businesses in terms of growth were at war with each other. And one put the other out of business intentionally. Now, maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe there's nothing wrong with love and war. But Binance is a massive, unregulated global monopoly now.
So that's the spin. It's not that Sam Bankman-Fried stole your money, even though he stole your money. It's that the Chinese guy that lives in Dubai did some tricky thing behind the curtains and made SBF pocket all that money or something. I don't know, like how that really worked it's not clear. But that guy's in front of Congress, you know, giving his testimony. It's so fucking stupid. Judas Fletchai in the chat. Boutique's daughter runs a sex shop in Israel. Yeah, you know, all the sex shops are run by all run by tribe members, insofar as I know. I don't know that anyone's in the porn business or in the sex industry that is not Jewish. Tinder, Grindr, all those dating apps, sex apps, stuff like that. They're all owned by like Israeli companies. So that's just the you know, the smut peddlers are always the same. But when I saw that Andrew Cuomo video, and I thought to myself, because I'm probably like the same age as him or close, he's, you know, probably close in age. And I thought, you know, if I just had $5 million and I was no longer in the spotlight and like people weren't yelling questions at me, I would just go off and live my life. I would go do all the shit that I always wanted to do, you know. But Cuomo's not going to do that. He's got to go back and lick the boots of the people who put him in fucking power. You know what I mean? And it's not the voters of New York, obviously. He'll give eulogies and he'll talk about Hitler and he'll like, you know, we're in a storm. Oh, we're in a storm and I'm Andrew the Umbrella Cuomo. You know, I don't know what the fuck he's saying. Like, he's some stupid shit, you know. But to so enthusiastically participate in that humiliation ritual, you know, in hopes of getting back to what you once were, it just shows that this guy's locked into a worldview that's not going to change until it's changed, until something outside him changes. It's going to be, I don't know how many more years, because they're not bringing him back. He's even though he's a sick fuck, he's too much of a straight white male. They can't have this. It's all going to be, you know, female, transgender, blah 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 blah. You can't have, you know. You can't have white men run the show. That is, you know, that's forbidden. So he's not coming back. And I just thought to myself, like, this guy has a lot more material wealth than I do. He's not living in a one-bedroom apartment in New Jersey. I'm sure he has a very, very lovely house, large home up in Albany. But how miserable must he be? Like, what a fucking miserable life. I would not trade places with that guy. I really would not. You know what I mean? I would not for 5 seconds trade places with that sick fucking bastard. But people become acclimatized. Slaves love their chains. You know what I mean? There's that old saying, you know, slaves love their chains. And Andrew Cuomo is living proof of that. He may have been a house Negro. You know what I mean? He may have been, you know, he wasn't a field Negro. He was a house Negro, but he loves them chains. He, you know, he's been set free and he don't want to be free. He want to be back in that big house. He want to be sweeping the porch of clear of anti-Semites. So Esther Rabinowitz Greenblatt III, when her coffin rolls by, you know, there won't be any hint of anti-Semitism. Whatever fucking insane nonsense this guy thinks is happening. But I mean, I look at that and I think, all right, none of these people see what's coming. Like, nobody sees what's coming. All right, you don't see what's coming. When it gets here, you know, my two friends, starvation and homelessness, will motivate you to change your fucking thinking like that fucking fast. And that's as fast as it will happen, which is why, you know, I don't worry about this so much. You know, I don't get as wound up as I used to get. Wondering whether or not I'm convincing people, because you'll be convinced when it all falls apart, and it is going to fall apart. I had the guy with the math, but like I said, I deleted that video. Maybe I'll find it and show it next week. But so what is it? It's 1:30 here now, and I'm sober. Jesus Christ, I didn't get the alcohol. Even though I was in Virginia, and they sell alcohol in gas stations down there, right in the middle of the airport. I thought about it, but I didn't buy anything. It occurred to me, but I was in such a rush to get back. I was like, you know what? Stop the car, put the gas pump in, pump the gas, go inside, use the restroom, come out, you know, and hit the road. I'm so hyper efficient in my movements. I didn't stop and think, well, let me wander around, you know, this Sunoco station and find and check its selection of vintages. And I'm not joking. They sell bottles of wine in that Sunoco station, because it's Washington D.C. and they drink gallons of that stuff. Anyway, tonight's show, we're at 49 minutes and 55 seconds. I got, like I said, just about every clip in that I wanted to get in. Pretty much said what I wanted to say. The title, of course, is to be hyper provocative. You know, screw these feds for deleting my last stream. Fuck you from now until the end of time, and then for 10 minutes after the end of time. But and that is my message to the feds, to the stream snipers, Norvin the Cripple, and fucking Ovi the Pedo, and Duvid the fucking Duvid wrote a book. They said Duvid did write a book. ChatGPT wrote a book, and they put Duvid's name on it. Come on, use your fucking head. At any rate, for everybody that stopped by, for everyone that's coming during the week, I did not show any musical content. So my presumption is this show will be up the entire week and into the future. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. And I will talk to you again next week.